Hello everybody, Maven here, and today I wanted to talk about recoil. So I was watching one of Grenadier Jake's most recent videos, you all know him, you all love him, and he said this.
Range masterwork, counterbalance to make that recoil direction perfect.
So that got me thinking that there are even top level players out there with over 10,000 hours logged into Destiny 2 who don't know exactly how recoil direction works. This is not meant to take a jab at Grenadier Jake, I'm just saying there are top level players who don't know how it works. So I decided I wanted to make this video because players of all different calibers can learn something from this. So for the record, 75 recoil on the messenger is actually bad. Despite the cone angle graphic on the bottom right looking perfect, it's actually a bad recoil direction for that gun. So in this video, I'm gonna break down how it works and what you should be looking out for your gun's recoil direction. So let's get to it. And remember, if the video helps you out, I'd really appreciate it if you drop a like. It helps out a ton, and I hope you enjoy. So first things first, I want to say to take this all with a grain of salt. I'm about 95% sure I know what I'm talking about when it comes to recoil, but there is a small chance I might give some misinformation. So here is a classic recoil chart that we used to go by, but it's a bit different now. So this was the tried and true graph of how recoil works, and while this chart is outdated, it's not completely BS. So what this graph is trying to say is that you always want your recoil to end in a value of 5, like 75, 85, 95, because the cone angle will be an equal balance of left and right bounce intensity. I'll show some examples on the screen here. So if you take a look at that 45 recoil, the cone angle is very large, but it is an equal balance of left and right. Although RNG will allow bullets to dramatically bounce to either side of that cone, which will make the gun very sporadic. And then if your recoil ends in a value of 0, the cone will dramatically dip to one side of the cone. So now you can sort of understand this chart. Anyways, it somewhat feels like this chart was eradicated after Bungie implemented deterministic recoil. So to sum up deterministic recoil, each individual weapon will have its own unique recoil pattern. It makes it so if you use a certain gun enough, you can gain muscle memory of its recoil pattern so you can learn to control it. However, I do not believe that this is always the case. In my experience, I only noticed this on some SMGs and auto rifles, but other than that, recoil still seems pretty random. So how does it work? Well, let's start off with the messenger because I believe this to be a very good example to kickstart us here. So the messenger's base recoil is 60, so as you can see, the cone angle is dramatically to the right, so understandably so, the gun will heavily bounce to the right. And by the way, I'll be doing a lot of speed ups in this video just so you can see the bounce intensity quicker because we can't be sitting here all day. So next, if we slap on a counterbalance stock, the gun hits 75 recoil, which was told to be perfect, but here is where the next piece of information comes in. Back in the day, light.gg used to have information on each weapon's bounce angle by stating it either 10s left, 10s right, or 10s vertical, but they have seemed to remove that feature. So I managed to find some old examples on the old Destinypedia sites that are out of date and not running anymore, but you can see for different guns there is a 10s left, 10s right, or 10s vertical. So it seems that deterministic recoil was a thing that was loosely in the game all along, not just something they added 4 months ago. So the messenger is either a weapon that 10s left, or 75 is a recoil stat that 10s left. I know that sounds weird, but it will all make sense soon. So taking a look at the recoil here, it's not bad really, but over time the weapon starts to travel to the left despite the cone angle of 75 looking like an equal balance of left and right. It will never go to the right, it will always go left. Now if we throw on an adept counterbalance stock, we can have a very high recoil direction of 95, which you would think would be absolutely perfect. It's only 5 off of 100, that cone angle is perfectly vertical, what could go wrong? Well, as you can see here, the gun still wants to go to the left, even though the cone is perfect. So now we're starting to question how this new chart works. So here is where it gets interesting. If we have a chambered compensator or extended barrel with a regular counterbalance mod, we can hit a recoil direction of 85. Now you would think 85 would be worse than 95, but that's where you're wrong. Despite a little RNG where the gun can go either direction, it always settles itself back around the center point. So the gun more or less is perfect. Why is this the case? Of course 85 recoil will be better than 75, but why is it better than 95? I tried this out on several other guns and the results were exactly the same. Now before we move on, just a side note for good measure, we got a messenger here with 100 recoil, and understandably so, the recoil is perfectly vertical, so it looks like you either want to aim for a recoil stat of 85 or 100. Here is another example with everyone's favorite, the Igneous Hammer Adept, one of the most used weapons in Crucible. It has a base recoil of 95, which, as we just learned, will make the gun travel to the left. And the Igneous Hammer is no exception. As you can see, it wants to go to the left. Now, if we up that to 100 with the counterbalance mod, the recoil becomes perfectly vertical. So once again, 95 is bad. The Nation of Beasts with 95 recoil looks good at the start, but slowly but surely veers off to the left, and 100 will also make it perfect. So just to confirm our suspicions here, here's a Randy's throwing knife with 74 recoil. Let's just pretend that's 75 for the video, same difference. And just like the messenger, it goes to the left. It goes far to the left. It's not good. And when we throw on a barrel mod to make that recoil closer to 85, what do you know? It becomes perfectly vertical. At the end, it does jump a tiny bit to the right, but that's just because it has 84 recoil and not a perfect 85, so that tiny imperfection made it go an inch to the right, but it's still just about perfect regardless. So this chart still has a good concept to it, but after these changes, it might be a load of you-know-what. So after testing a bunch of weapons, I've come to find out that you want to aim for 85 or 100 recoil to have your gun be as vertical as possible, at least for semi-auto weapons. As for fully automatic weapons, I found that deterministic recoil becomes more prevalent. But that's only the case for some weapons, not all of them. You kind of just got to test the individual weapons for yourself. So for full auto weapons, the logic may be different. You don't exactly always want 100 recoil. A good example here is the Lethal Abundance Iron Banner auto rifle. This gun is a great example of deterministic recoil. As you can see, with 100 recoil, the gun's firing pattern starts off bouncing way off to the right before starting to balance out, as auto rifles typically do when you land the trigger. This is what the gun naturally wants to do, so when you perfect its recoil at 100, it will do what it wants to do. And in this case, what it wants to do is bad. So I managed to make its recoil 89, and as you can see by the cone, it leans left, which usually the common Destiny player would think that's absolutely horrible. But since the gun wants to dramatically bounce to the right, we can turn the recoil left with that cone to remedy its problem. And you can see here that it still goes right, but not nearly to the degree as before, because we're trying to fix that recoil to go in the other direction. So on full auto weapons, in some cases, it's not a bad idea to have your recoil closer to an ending value in 0 rather than 5, because some guns have horrible deterministic recoil. But like I said, not every full auto weapon has deterministic recoil, I've noticed. I may have shown this clip earlier with the Parabellum SMG, but you can clearly see the deterministic recoil giving me the same exact pattern every time. It's a very noticeable thing on 900 RPM SMGs and sometimes 600 RPM SMGs. And the Lethal Abundance clip was proof the same concept goes for auto rifles, but not all of them. So that brings us to the very popular Amit AR2. Here we get a recoil stat of 96, which for the video, let's just round that out and say it's 95. Same thing. And the recoil isn't bad, but over time it does travel to the left, as all of our semi-auto weapons did that had 95 or 75 recoil, as we learned earlier. So even though it's a full auto weapon, it kind of follows the same laws as the semi-autos did. So deterministic recoil is not present on every full auto weapon. So if the same logic follows, when we make its recoil 86, since it's so close to 85, it should be perfect, right? And what do you know? It is perfect. RNG may give a little deviation here and there, but in the end, it always centers itself back out to the starting point. Now, don't get me wrong. You may run into a few outliers every once in a while, but through all the testing I've done with a bunch of different weapons, it seems that you want to aim for 85 or 100 recoil. I tested the round robin, Drang, Immortal Shaira, a lot of other stuff, and the information seems consistent throughout. If your gun has deterministic recoil that leans clearly in another direction, then mess around with the wonky recoil stat to try to pull it the other way. If you want to do some investigation of your own and make a new chart to post on Reddit, by all means do so. But that's all the information I got for you today. I hope this has helped you learn something. If it did, I'd appreciate if you share the video with a friend who you think might benefit from this video as well. And if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate if you drop a like and a comment, because interacting with the video and different types of ways like that really helps out the algorithm and goes a long way. So I greatly appreciate it. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here. And with that, I'll catch you in the next video. See you later.